Michigan State football cannot stop adding players through the portal, at least in the last 36-ish hours. And then Michigan State basketball, kind of a sweaty first half, but hey, beat the rust off after 10 days of a break. And then, rolled Oakland in the second half. Let's go.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
College football playoff is here, and you don't want to miss a moment of the action. The college football playoff presented by Allstate begins with 4 first-round games December 20th and 21st on ESPN, ABC, TNT, and Max. Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, thank you all so much for tuning in to Locked On Spartans, your team in green and white 5 days a week. Please rate, review, subscribe, comment below your favorite addition for Michigan State in the transfer portal so far. We're up to 6 right now for the football Spartans. Or, hey, if you want to give us thoughts on this basketball game that happened on Tuesday night against Oakland, feel free. It's been a while since we've talked basketball. It's been a 10-day break. We will get to that game at the end of this show. But first and foremost, guys, it is buzzing in the portal for football recruiting. Since the last time we talked, Michigan State's added 4 players. We already knew about Luka Vincic, the offensive line transfer from Oregon State. We already knew about Omari Kelly, Middle Tennessee State transfer. But here we are, Chrishon McCray. Yes, that's the guy that we had near the top of our wish list. 4 players that had visited Michigan State. Out of Kent State, he committed. Way more on him later. And then running back Elijah Tau-Tolliver, cornerback Josh Eaton, and then offensive lineman Caleb Carter. More on all those guys later on, but we're going to start this show talking about Chrishon McCray out of Kent State. Big play McCray. Guys, this is what this offense kind of needed, right? And what we mean by that is specifically the type of player he is. 5'10", 165 pounds, speedy guy, could play him out of the slot. And you know what? Luckily, here in the Locked On Spartans listenership, we have someone that has hands-on experience with Chrishon McCray as we go to Cole H. LockedOnSpartans@gmail.com is where he reached out at us. He wrote in, with the news of Chrishon McCray committing to MSU out of the portal, thought it was important to note that he also transferred to my MSU team in the NCAA football game, ended up being an All-American 2 years in a row. There we go, Cole. That's what I'm talking about. Hopefully he can be that for the team in real life also. Jokes aside, how do you see him impacting the team in the first year? And I think the question here is obviously the important part. Congratulations on having an amazing 2-year run with him in your video game, Cole H. But no, that's a good question. Not just with Chrishon McCray, but the receiver group as a whole right now because, yes, they got Omari Kelly, 800-plus yard receiver for Middle Tennessee State. Chrishon McCray down there at Kent State. Did the Golden Flashes win a game? No, but was Chrishon McCray still really good? Yeah, he was the only reason that Golden Flashes fans were able to smile last year. 700-plus yards, 9 touchdowns. And guys, Kent State as a whole just had 21 touchdowns offensively on the season. Our guy, Chrishon McCray, almost accounted for half of those touchdowns. Now, with that said, did Michigan State, with these 2 moves, did they replicate that old Alabama wide receiver room with Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs, Devontae Smith, and Jalen Waddle, like 4 bona fide NFL stars? No. I think it's important to also level set expectations here with these exciting moves, these new additions, getting experienced veteran players from Group of 5 teams to Michigan State. Now, I also think it's fair to say this. I think Michigan State upgraded at the receiver position. I hope I'm not too out of line saying that. That's not to be disrespectful to anyone that's left in the offseason, anyone that's graduated or transferred, anything like that. But look, Omari Kelly, a guy, again, over 800-yard receiver at Middle Tennessee State, really solid in the Conference USA. I take him in place of Montorie Foster, Jerron Glover. I think that's an upgrade, if not a wash. Any way you want to slice it, not a step down from there, right, as far as we're talking right now. Now, Chrishon McCray, about him, he adds something different to this offense, something that has been missing. And yes, at Kent State last year, he played 439 snaps at wideout, 49 of them in the slot. So about 20% of his snaps were in that slot. I do wonder, and I do think that will grow at Michigan State because just like back at Oregon State, you heard us reference these 2 players time to time again. Anthony Gold, Silas Bolden, two guys that were great slot receivers for Oregon State. Anthony Gold in the NFL. Silas Bolden, highly sought after transfer, went to Texas, not having statistically a great year for them, but I'm sure he'll get some run in the NFL. Regardless, they were the straws, wide receiver-wise, that stirred the drink for Oregon State. They, of course, were a power run team first. They also had some nice things going on with their tight ends, but they also needed that slot receiver, someone that can go in motion, really take the eyes off of other players on the defensive side of the ball, someone that can just burn and turn upfield. Michigan State tried it with Alante Brown for the 20 snaps he was healthy this season. Isaiah Johnson, they plugged him in the slot here and there. Solid player, not a bona fide slot receiver. I think that's where Chrishon McCray will profile as a slot receiver. So right now you got your starting trio of Nick Marsh, of course, Omari Kelly, and then Chrishon McCray. So that's solid. I think that is an upgrade over last year's team. Now, are we expecting 700-plus yards again from Chrishon McCray, like Silas Bolden numbers in his year at Oregon State before he left for Texas? No, but he can still be a really productive player here. Like, you can still be in the 400-500-yard receiver and still be really productive for your new team. And there's two reasons I say that. There's two reasons I say maybe don't expect 700 yards out of big play McCray. The first one, I did a little bit of research. Now, it's a small-ish sample size, but I'm going to go back to last year's wide receiver portal class, the 2024 wide receivers, okay? And specifically, top 20 receivers that went from group of 5 to Power 4 football. There were 4 receivers in the top 20 that were rated in the top 20 that went to group of 4. CJ Daniels at Liberty, okay? 1,100 receiving yards. He went to LSU, just 500 yards this season. Chris Mitchell over at FIU, down in Mr. 305 world over in Miami. Now, again, just like Mr. Daniels, 1,100 receiving yards. But when he went to Notre Dame, less than 200 yards. Chris Brazzell, Tulane, 700 receiving yards. Then he went to Tennessee. He's around 325 receiving yards. And then the last guy that went group of 5 to Power 4 that was rated inside the top 20 for receivers, Cyrus Allen, Louisiana, where he had 700 yards, and then went to Texas A&M where he has less than 300 receiving yards. So that kind of just, with those numbers, what I'm trying to do here is paint a picture of, yes, you can be a really talented group of 5 receiver. To replicate the numbers you have at a group of 5 level, at the Power 4 level, not likely. And I even went back to those 4 guys to say, okay, well, maybe they were in wide receiver battles. Maybe they weren't all starters the entire year. No, by and large, most of these guys were starters. It's just, it's harder to do it at a level above. And the second reason that, maybe don't expect 700, 800 yards out of Chrishon McCray is like, guys, like Nick Marsh is the feature here. Like over at Kent State, big play McCray, he's quite literally the only semblance of offense they have. Omari Kelly, they had a little more things going on for them at Middle Tennessee State, but still, he was like the main receiver, if not one of the main facets of that offense. Now, they're going to come here to be, I don't want to be disrespectful. I don't think it is. I think it's just being honest, more complimentary to what Nick Marsh is. Now, complimentary, not because, they're just warm bodies out there, but they're veterans. They're experienced. They're good players. So I think it is an upgrade. Still keep your expectations in check. We're not saying that all of a sudden overnight, well, bam, this is a top 3 receivers unit in college football or even in the Big Ten, but I think Michigan State took some steps forward. So, well, now what? Now what for receiver? On the roster, you still have Jaylen Brown. You still have true freshman coming in, Braylon Collier, who just got named to the All-Ohio team not too long ago. So congrats to Mr. Collier. I think he's going to have a really good career here. But guys, also, I saw some of these comments after McCray's commitment, and they're valid. It's like, does it mean anything if we didn't do anything in the offensive line yet? I don't think that's out of line. I think that's pretty on base there. We did get a little help in the offensive line. We're going to talk about more about the recent additions to the portal as well, again, guys, about that basketball game. But first, you need to talk your ears off about FanDuel Sportsbook, America's #1 sportsbook. You already know it, guys. I was neck deep into the FanDuel same-game parlays at the basketball game tonight. That's right. One of the lucky people to be at Little Caesars Arena. And, guys, yeah, we cashed the Jaden Akins over on points. That's right. We cashed the the over on Jaxon Kohler rebounds. Thank you, Mr. Double Double. And thank you, Mr. FanDuel, for your offerings for those bets. Guys, right now, it gets even sweeter at FanDuel for new customers because you can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. Again, you will get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more. Official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Also, keep daily fantasy sports rolling with Prize Picks. Now, what on earth is Prize Picks? Well, it's quite simply, it's the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. All you got to do is just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Make the holidays even bigger and brighter with Prize Picks. Again, guys, the best place to get real money action of watching your favorite sports. And I'll say it one more time, you could win up to 1,000 times your money on Prize Picks. And best of all, for you MasterCard users out there, they offer MasterCard for quick and easy deposits into your account this sports season. Join now because this holiday season, Prize Picks is giving away 2 free picks in December, and they're giving away $30+ million in rewards during Pickmas. So celebrate Pickmas over at Prize Picks. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 off instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app today, use code LOCKEDONCollege, and get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. It's Prize Picks. Run your game. All right, back to the transfer portal. There's still 3 names that we got to get to that have been added since the last episode. Joshua Eaton, also added on Monday later in the day. Now, he played 3 years at Oklahoma, 2 at Texas State. So, yes, if you could do that math over there, that's his 6th year in college football coming up. And, well, that's offering something in this secondary room that really isn't going to be abundant this next year. And that would be experience, guys. Look, yeah, sure, you got Chance Rucker, Adae Wiley, Legend Cavazos, Andrew Brinson, Dylan Tatum. But you also saw Ed Woods leave, Chuck Brantley leave, Jalen Thompson leave. Like, that room has gotten a little skinny with their depth right now. So what this does, adds depth, adds experience, and, well, it adds a guy that's pretty reliable. I will knock on wood right now before I jinx this guy into, having some horrible thing happen to him in the spring. But at the last 2 years at Texas State, they played 25 games. He played in all 25 games, so he's durable, he's experienced. Also has, of course, Power 4 football experience, played 3 years at Oklahoma. So there you go in the cornerback room, Joshua Eaton being added to that list. Now, might not be the only secondary piece added this cycle, Dante Joyner. He visited on Monday. Pro Football Focus grades him as a top 20 corner amongst group of 5 schools. He was the 3rd best rated corner in the Sun Belt and has 2 years left. Okay, not bad. If you can grade or nab someone that high out of the portal in Dante Joyner, yeah, we'll take it. We will absolutely take it because, again, guys, room is getting a little thin. You could use experience, and with a guy like Dante Joyner out of the Sun Belt, one of the top 20 best corners in that solid group of 5 conference, you're going to take him. He graded an 80.9 for those that were wondering. Now, another addition, Caleb Carter, offensive lineman out of Western Carolina. He has 1 year left of eligibility, has played 34 games in his career, and last year for Western Carolina, he started at every single position on that offensive line except left guard. So, yes, he's versatile. He's experienced. Will he be competing for a starting job right off the bat here in East Lansing? Honestly, yeah, maybe. Offensive line is such a toss-up. Didn't leave a lot of inspiring moments on the field last year, I guess is the nicest way to say it. So, yeah, if you're enrolling to Michigan State, if you're transferring to Michigan State, yeah, you probably have a shot to be a starter. Would it surprise me a little bit if Caleb Carter wasn't that starting 5 to kick off the season next year? It would be, but if not for nothing else, certainly a solid depth piece with, again, Plenty of experience, not just for how long he's been in college, but anywhere on the offensive line he has been. Now, this was a kind of a quiet commitment, or I guess a quiet journey for Michigan State right here. Elijah Tau-Tolliver. No one really even knew of this kid's visit, which was fascinating. 6'1", 205-pound running back out of Sacramento State. He was a Big Sky honorable mention running back last season. 30 missed tackles forced. That was 7th most in the Big Sky. He also caught 38 passes too. So some versatility right there out of the Sacramento State product, and teammates early on in his career with Cam Scatabo of Arizona State. A guy who I think got a little bit snubbed for the Heisman, just lightly snubbed. But interesting that, you know what, because we heard of TJ Harden. Okay, that's the running back that visited from UCLA. They had Eli Sanders from New Mexico earlier in the week. And then, well, they're still maybe possibly going to host Jamari Taylor later this week. I guess keep your eye on that one, because at this point I'd be a little surprised if Michigan State takes any more running backs, because, yes, you have Tau-Tolliver. Solid running back, again, 6'1", 205-pound. They certainly have a type, this coaching staff does. You're always in that 6'1", 200-pound-ish running back mold, just like, well, guys like Mekhi Frazier, Brandon Tulis, and you also have incoming true freshman Jace Clarizio, who they just flipped from Alabama. I don't think he necessarily came in here to be RB5, so that's why I'd be a little surprised if they do take another running back in this portal cycle. So that's where we're at with 6 total portal entries. 6 total portal gets so far for Michigan State. We'll still keep our eye on anything else that's happening, because, well, they still need help on the offensive line, the defensive line. They're certainly still targeting guys in the secondary. They're pretty much going after every position except quarterback as of now. Now, we did open up the mailbag. Greek Omelet writes in, why does it seem like this coaching staff recruits the portal so much better than the high school ranks? That's a good question, because, guys, we all know this. High school recruiting did not go so well for this staff, at least in year one. And that wasn't like a total shocker. We said it wouldn't be great since, it's the first year for the staff. However, we'll also be honest, I never thought it'd be 50th in the country. I thought it'd be at least in the 30s or 40s. But nevertheless, you know the story with high school recruiting. Not the greatest cycle right now. Could get better. If you want to hear more about that, we talked to Alan True of 24/7 Sports yesterday. He seems to be pretty optimistic about that. But why does it seem like this coaching staff had success in the portal more so than the high school ranks? I think it comes down to this. I think it's just because these portal players, especially in this cycle so far that Michigan State's getting, they are experienced players. Like, these are guys with 1 year of eligibility left, 2 years of eligibility left at most. I think really the only young guy that they got is Luka Vincic, and that's the offensive lineman from Oregon State, a guy that kind of already knows Jim Boholchek, Brian Lindgren, the offense that these guys want to run. But everywhere else, it's guys that, okay, also too largely guys that have been in Power 4 football, dropped back to Group of 5, like Omari Kelly, for example, like, I forgot, this is not good. I forgot the other person's name that I was going to reference. Oh, man, shame on you. Shame. Josh Eaton. That's right. The cornerback we just talked about. Sorry about that, guys. But you get the point. Like, guys that have, been through it all. The highs of Power 4, and then back to Group of 5. And now, well, okay, got 1 year left. Not going to be too picky with my options. And, I'm going to go where, this is where it gets important, where there is a hole. Right now, it's pretty obvious where Michigan State has their holes. I think the coaching staff makes it pretty clear, hey, guys, this is where our holes are right now. And you can see pretty easily, as a guy with just 1 year left or 2 years left, well, how you can step in and fix that hole and be an instant contributor to that team. Whereas high school recruiting, it's a lot of like, hey, cool, just met you, thanks for coming by Michigan State, but I've been talking to a lot of other schools in this area for the last 2+ years. This is all nice and all, but how are you going to develop me for years down the line? It's just more of like a long, drawn-out, how are you going to develop me plan for high schoolers? Whereas if you're a transfer portal guy, pretty easy plug and play. So it's easier to sell an already developed guy instant playing time than it is, a kid that you're hoping to develop when those relationships have already been made with other schools. And that's, to tie it back to recruiting, kind of where we have hope that it can get better in 2026 and beyond, because what do we always talk about here? Yeah, it's that recruiting is based on 2 year relationships or more. It's not just me saying that over and over again. Alan True, who knows more about recruiting than anyone that we've had on this show, basically, he corroborated that too. You start talking to these players as they're juniors, sophomores, freshmen in high school. The staff came in. Okay, well, we got to start talking to guys as seniors right now. We'll see what kind of a class we can get. Still underwhelming, 50th in the nation, but yeah, that's why it seems to be that it's getting a little better with the portal than it is in high school recruiting. Good question by Greek Omelet, as always. And guys, we're going to talk that basketball game, but first, you need to talk your ears off about the college football playoff. Yes, it's that time of year again. The college football playoff is back, and with the newly expanded 12-team format, it's guaranteed to be bigger and better than ever, bringing you all the hard-hitting and high-flying excitement that you love. TNT Sports coverage of the college football playoff begins December 21st, starting with the college football playoff kickoff show presented by AT&T at 11 a.m. Eastern. Leading into our first matchup, the Southern Methodist University Mustangs battling the Penn State Nittany Lions at noon. Then, the Clemson Tigers look to upset the Texas Longhorns in a showdown at 4 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss a moment of the action. Watch the college football playoff presented by Allstate live on TNT, True TV, TBS, and Max. 77-58 Michigan State after what seemed like a 3.5-month break. They are back in the win column. I guess not. Like, it's not like they were off a losing streak. It just feels like it's been so long since this team has played a game that, after 10 days, they finally get to add another tally into that win column. That is 4 wins in a row for your Spartans. They've won 7 of the last 8. And did it look hairy at the start? Yeah. Again, I was very lucky to be at the game, and I'm incredibly sorry I didn't get your name, whoever was sitting a few rows behind me. But you said at halftime, hey, you know, talk about how horrible that half was. And I didn't even answer the question. All I could just muster up was, I'm scared for the second half. Because Michigan State looks like a team that had not played in 10 days in that first half. Now, I will say, Oakland, just like we talked about with Greg Kampe, that's right, Oakland University coach Greg Kampe joined the show. He was really happy with his defense and how they've played so far this season. That was not their question mark going into this game, and we saw a lot of that. It was the rust of Michigan State running into a pretty decent offense. Yes, a Horizon League team, but one that's well coached, obviously. Okay, we might be sweating out this second half here. And, well, Oakland, the worst three-point shooting team in the nation coming into this game, going nuclear at the end of half from behind the arc. It's like, oh, well, it's just one of those nights. So, no, I'm sorry to the gentleman sitting behind me. I guess we're not going to talk about how horrible that half was because, well, that second half was just that good. They turned things around. They won by 20 points. We'll keep it upbeat here. Oh, my God. I was scared in that first half. Went out in that concourse and tried to find the largest beer I could find to calm the old nerves because, oh boy, what a tide turner that would have been. But again, guys, 77-58. Xavier Booker. Okay, young man's playing some good basketball, guys. 4th game in a row, double-digit scoring for Xavier Booker. He had 18 points, 6 rebounds, and what I love to see from him, 5 of 6 from the free throw stripe. He was in there, guys. Sure, it made it rain from 3. He had some big three-pointers in this game. I mean, just when you thought that Oakland was starting to, get that momentum back, they had a home crowd of sorts, but yeah, they felt that momentum going their way. Xavier Booker extinguished those flames quite a bit of times here, but it was just getting in there in the paint, being physical enough to get to the line 6 times. Absolutely love that. Now, really quick about his three-point shooting. Guys, the first 8 games of his season, he had 3 made three-pointers total in those first 8 games. In the last 3 games, he's cashed in 7 of those, shooting over 50% from 3 just in the last 3 games. Still has a way to go to get the season average up, obviously, but guys, he's woken up, I think. It was a column that Graham Couch wrote after the Minnesota game, I believe it was, maybe the Nebraska game, but yeah, he had a night in Hawaii where he was just fed up watching film with assistant coach Sadie Washington, and you can see the intensity rise out of Xavier Booker lately. And speaking of intensity, oh my goodness gracious, Jaxon Kohler, Mr. Double-Double himself, 14 points, 10 rebounds, 3 blocks. Very active early on for Michigan State. I don't think Michigan State had an energy issue going into this game, but it was very clear who was bringing the energy to the floor early on in this one. It was Jaxon Kohler, as well as Jaden Akins. He had 16 points, splashed home some early three-pointers for Michigan State. And guys, again, we got to shout out Jamon Sapala. 5 points, but it's the 8 rebounds that you talk about. The 3 offensive rebounds, but not just that. The headline for him, 6 blocks from Zapala. Like, their post defense was extraordinary today, guys. Really quick, let's go back to that rebounding. Michigan State, because this is just what they do now this year. It's been a little bit of a hiatus since Michigan State has been a strong rebounding team, but they flexed their muscles once again. 51-31 on the boards was their victory, including 20 offensive rebounds, which led to 25 second chance points. The defense, extraordinary for Michigan State. I sound like a wind-up toy, and I'm happy to do so because it truly is rebound, run, defend, or defend, rebound, run, whatever it is. They're doing it almost every single game. The defense was great, and I'll reiterate, like, Oakland, coming into this game from three-point land, one of the worst shooting teams in the country, if not the worst. They're not much better from the free throw stripe, which obviously you can't defend a free throw, but that's pretty indicative of how good you are purely shooting as a team. Like, they're not good. So when we say that they held Oakland to 30% shooting, like, we understand that it's not a good shooting team to begin with. They made life very difficult for the Golden Grizzlies. They even had a really good day for their standards. I guess even for college basketball standards. For three-point land, they shot 35% from 3, but as a total, even in the paint, like, guys like Zapala, Kohler, Booker, like, they were mucking it up in there, making life miserable for the Golden Grizzlies. And I did see this stat really quick before recording. This is from our guy Dave Klein of Spartans Illustrated. He tweeted this out. MSU is now 37 of 98. That is 37.8% from deep over their last 5 games, trending in the right direction. So yes, great at shooting the ball from Michigan State. There's also one other individual performance that I did want to point out here with this win over Oakland, and it was Jeremy Fears, who offensively, sure, we'll call it like the 10-day rust, whatever you want to call it. It wasn't like, the worst game you've ever seen offensively, but not one you're going to write home about. The defensive side of the ball, though, namely in the second half, especially after you hear from Izzo that when they went to halftime, just up 1 point, that Jeremy Fears went to Izzo and said, "I want DQ Cole at halftime." Well, that's what you're going to be writing home about, because DQ Cole for Oakland, I mean, he had himself a game. Just in the first half, he had himself a game. 16 points, 6 rebounds. Very obviously the reason they were still in that contest going into halftime. And the guy with the goggles, Christie, oh my God, I was shocked to find out Christie only had 15 points on the game, because from our seats, it seemed like he had 39 points. That kid could not miss. Anyway, on the ball, DQ Cole, 16 points, 6 rebounds in the first half. Jeremy Fears goes into halftime, tells Izzo, "I want to play defense on him." DQ Cole, not present in the second half. 2 points on 1 of 7 shooting. I think as a team, Michigan State just did a really good job switching off of screens. And Oakland threw a lot of off-ball screens at them, especially on the baseline in that second half. I thought Michigan State's communication and switching was superb on the whole the whole evening, we'll call it. And that's after, a week stretch where Greg Kampe talked about he had many practices where they just worked on offense. So that was the focus for Oakland. And it wasn't even just, as binary as, did they make shots or did they not make shots? It was all the inner workings in that offense, everything going on with the backdoor screens, the cuts. Like, Michigan State just did a really good job of sealing off a lot of valves for the Grizzlies there. So, guys, there you have it. Like, there's your Michigan State basketball Spartans, just winning, rebounding, running. It's a fun team to watch. And I know this is like our maybe 5th time saying that stupidly on this show, just over and over again. Like, they won. This is a lot of fun watching a team win. But you know what I'm talking about if you're a Michigan State fan that's watched the last few years. Just stylistically, this team looks different, guys. Different than they have in the last few years. They look like the Michigan State team of old. Tonight was another shining example of that. Just physical, especially in the paint. Really good guard play. I like basketball again. This is great. We're all smiling, guys. Now, we weren't smiling at halftime necessarily, but hey, you know what? They got it together in the second half, and they got that win. Hey, maybe another one Saturday, 2 o'clock against FAU. Who's to say? All right, guys, we will be back on tomorrow's show, as well as the one after that. Of course, because this is Locked on Spartan, we do this 5 days a week. Now, take care of yourselves. Love you all. Go Green.